Hello again. Today we're going to carry on with the conditionals. This is the third lesson. It's about the second conditional. Of course, the same thing as what we said last time with the zero conditional and the first conditional. We always have two parts in a conditional sentence, the if clause and the main clause. We form the sentence using if plus subject plus verb, but here you've got the past simple in the if clause. Then the comma, subject, would, or the short form apostrophe D plus verb in the infinitive without to. So in this conditional, the second conditional, we've got the past simple, would, plus verb in the infinitive. When we start with the main clause, then the if clause, we start with the subject, would, or apostrophe D, the short form of would, plus the verb in the infinitive, plus if, subject, and verb in the past simple. As usual, when you start with the main clause, we don't need the comma here. We don't need the comma. Look at these examples. If I won a plane ticket, comma, I would visit Australia. Or I'd visit Australia. You see, this is the if clause. Here you've got the verb in the past simple, the past form, the past form of the verb to win. It's an irregular verb. Say won. If I won a plane ticket, comma, I'd or I would visit Australia. So this is the if clause, and the second part is the main clause. We can call it the result clause. Or I'd visit Australia if I won a plane ticket. We start with the main clause, then the if clause, and here we have no punctuation. We don't have comma. This is the form of the second conditional. The tense used here is the past simple in the if clause. Then would plus infinitive in the main clause. Another example, or the same example in the negative form, we would say, I wouldn't visit Australia if I didn't win a plane ticket. Or I wouldn't visit Australia if I won a plane ticket. The negative form here. You've got I wouldn't. Interrogative form, you say, would you visit Australia if you won a plane ticket? This is a yes-no question. Would you visit? WH question, where would you go if you won a plane ticket? Okay? Now, we're going to see when or why do we use the second conditional. We use the second conditional, or the second conditional is used to talk about imaginary or unreal or impossible situations in the present or future. And the past simple here in the second conditional is not indicating past time. We said present or future. The verb is in the past, but the meaning is in the present or immediate future. We're going to see other examples. Look at this now. If I were the president, I'd reduce taxes. Another example. If I were rich, I'd buy a yacht. These situations are not real, right? I imagine being the president. I imagine being rich. In reality, I'm not the president and I'm not rich. So I can't reduce taxes. I can't buy a yacht. It's imaginary. It's an unreal situation. These are unreal situations. That's why we say it's imaginary. If I were the president, I am not the president. I say if I were the president, I'd reduce taxes. If I were rich, I'd buy a yacht. Right? Imaginary. And you've noticed that I'm using were with I instead of was. Were is used instead of was with I in the second conditional. It can also be used with he, she, or it because it's imaginary, it's unreal. For example, if he were rich, he would buy a yacht. We would go for a swim if it were warm. If it were warm. You can see here that we can use were instead of was in the third person singular, he or it. And here with I, if I were rich. Here are other examples. I would buy a big house if I had enough money. In reality, I don't have enough money to buy a big house. I just imagine. It's unreal. I say, if I had enough, I'd buy a big house. He would call you if he knew your number, or if he knew your number. He doesn't know your number, so he can't call you. We say, if he knew your number, he would call you. He would call you if he knew your number. Interrogative form. Interrogative form, where would you go if you could fly? This is imaginary. If you could fly, where would you go? Not impossible. This is impossible. Imaginary. If you could fly, no one can fly. No. If you could fly, where would you go? Or where would you go if you could fly? We can also use the second conditional to give advice. Like these two examples here. If I were you, I'd go to London. For example, you want to go on a trip abroad. You are hesitating. I give you advice. I say, if I were you, I'd go to London. This is another advice. I'm giving you advice using the second conditional. If I were you, I'd stop eating junk food. Because junk food is unhealthy. It's not good for health. I give you advice. I'd stop eating junk food if I were you. Or if I were you, I'd stop eating junk food. Well, I hope that everything is clear. To consolidate the lesson, you can do the exercises of the student book on page 104, and the workbook, page 74. I will send you the solutions in the next video. Thank you. Good luck, everybody.